So the movie begins with Colonel Sanders' great-grandson being arrested in the KFC offices for some chicken conspiracies, and he's being interviewed by what he thought was his secretary, and he just is finding out that she's actually an investigative reporter, and he calling her all type of snitches like, yo, you dirty bitch, yo, payback's a bitch as well, so y'all gonna be lesbians and shit. Narc, mark my word. She gets back to just doing her interview and telling the story about how she uncovered the KFC conspiracy. After they wrap that up, she goes home, and come to find out, her camera woman is also her lady, and she starts to tell her about how she's about to take on a undercover op that's going to involve her going to a prison. And her girl gets sad, but surprise, she wasn't really sad. She was pranking her. Then they start pillow fighting, wrestling, and then that turns into making out because, you know, that's how true lesbian, couples act. She starts getting dolled up because she's gonna go undercover as a prostitute because it's the prostitutes that are coming up missing. And she's all happy with herself driving around in the heat of the night. You know, she's a woman with nothing to lose, looking for the fight of her life. She gets pulled over by the Jake. 12 pulls out and, bends her over. Well, first he pulls her out the car and he's like, yo, you look like a hooker. And he pulls her out, throws her on the, side of the car, and he's like, you know what, you're under arrest. But my boy's here. He's like, yeah, boy, go check her car real quick. Check the trunk. And while he's doing that, he's over here pretty much filling her up, being a weirdo. And come to find out, she had drugs in the car. So he goes ahead and puts her in the car and starts doing weird shit. She gets clinked up. Judge man's like, yo, I hate dirty hookers. You going off to the pen. You going off to Sugar Shack, right where you belong. So she rolls up. She meets some of the guards. They're some weirdos as well. He's like, yeah, well, you better follow the rules or it's gonna be more like Shawshank Redemption than it will be Orange is the New Black. And so then she meets the female guard and she's checking her out too. Everybody's a little perverted up in this situation. Then she meets Big Mama Warden and she's letting her know, like, I don't play no games here. Yo, this thing can be hard or it could be tough. You ever seen Oz? Well, that could be you. Or you could kind of have another situation because I see you into hooking and drugs. Well, I got another. First of all, she's like, yo, shut up. And listen to me. I got another, proposition for you. You can come and work for me in a more leisurely side of the pen and have a life of luxury, or you could be out on the yard. And she's like, yo, I just want to do my time. And she's like, yo, time is on my side. You know what I mean? So you better get right. And until then, I'm going to put you out on the yard and we'll see how you like that, little girl. Yo, take her away. So she goes out to the yard and she started meeting some of her tent mates. And then she meets Shaniqua, and Shaniqua like, yo, ho, what you doing up in here? I don't be shaking hands with no quah. And also, you better watch your back because I don't play no games. And she's, trying to get tough with her. She's like, who you think you are? And she's like, oh, yeah, I ain't no punk either. Just because I'm a snow bunny, I will hop all over you. And then, the guard comes and breaks that up while they breaking it down with the chow. I remember that shit, 23 and 1. She gets kind of, harassed by the Chicana chick. And, she spits the sandwich in the face. So she on the low walk, after hours, and she runs into Chicana again. And she's like, yo, I'm about to give you that Latina heat. But then she knocks her out and goes back to the room. And, pretty much she trying to play it off. And then Shanique would come back and she's like, yo, I heard something happened to the Latina heat. And you the only person that could be involved because you new around here, but you got to chill. And you know what? I ain't no hooker. The only one I'm hooking for is Big Daddy. And he ain't here. So I ain't listening to what the warden say. So I'm going to do my hard time till I get out and get back to Big Daddy. And if I was you, I'd chill out because you can end up getting it too. And a scene of the guards being guards, punk bitches and shit. And then they start doing all the work out on the yard. Come and find out the yard is just like a field. That's a little overgrown with brush, you know what I'm saying? I had a landscaping job once. I had to do that shit. The shit was crazy, but it didn't feel like some penitentiary work. So then they get a break after work. They get to go shower in the little cabana. And she's like, yo, ho, you ain't no ho, cause you ain't got no tracks. You ain't got no marks. You ain't got no smacks like your pimp hit you up. Who are you? And she's like, all right, I'll tell you. I'm undercover, man. I'm trying to figure out what's the dirty do's, you know what I'm saying, the dirty deeds. So she goes and meets with the warden again, and she's, you know, like, yo, I know I was wrong. I'm trying to be on that fast track. Put me in. I want to be on the team, coach. And she's like, oh, yeah? You thought you was so tough before and thought you was hot shit. What you gonna do for me now? She's like, what do you want, ma'am? I'll do whatever. And she's like, oh, yeah? Pop that top real quick, just like a soda bottle, you feel me, man? You know what I'm saying? So she inevitably gives in and she pops the top, and you know, she shows her what the business be, and then she tells her to crawl over like a tiger. And because she crawled over like that, it made her kind of happy and sad at the same time. So now that she transferred, she's in pretty much paradise. And then bruh man showing them, like, you know, what to do. They do a little bit of working around, but they do more partying than anything. They be having a good time over there, you know what I mean? And then comes, you know, Friday night, they got to go to work and pretty much entertain all of the warden's guests. And she got Shaniqua over there too. And she's like, girl, you got to act right, because we about to escape. And they start slipping stuff into people's drinks, you know, the old Cardi B. And then, you know, Snow Bunny's like, yo, come on, homie, I'm about to show you the time of your life. Come to find out, you know, Colonel Sanders Jr.'s there, and then he passes out with Shaniqua, and she's like, man, I'm so glad I didn't have to hit that. And then the other cowboy ends up passing out too. They find the evidence and the paperwork to bust this whole thing open. You know, the warden's messing with them, but she came a little suspicious, so she went to check it out, and now she finding everybody knocked out, and she goes and gets her second in command, like, yo, we gotta find these mugs. So they run down the escaped prostitutes, and they like, yo, what y'all think y'all about to do? Termination. And then she tells her, you know what, Snow Bunny, you thought you was so slick. Now I'm about to show you what the whip do. You know what I mean? You thought I was some little punk. I've been holding this bitch down for 30 years, and you ain't about to mess it up. But she goes to take off, and she tells her to run, just so they can shoot her down. But out of nowhere, the choppers fly in, and guess what? Everybody is being exposed. She gets saved by the police. Now she's in a situation where they're talking to her about how they couldn't pretty much, you know, pin anything on the warden or the cops or, you know, anyone. So, but she was free. So now Shanika and them is out, and they're ready to go, you know, military, and Big Daddy shows up, and he's like, you know, check this out, play girl. We gonna go ahead and handle that situation. And she's like, well, hey, we need to go in here and handle it. And he's like, yo, it'll be done. So they get the blueprints and they set everything up. They end up catching the sheriff, and they're like, yo, you smell like pig, homie. Oink, oink. So they use him to get into the prison. And, you know, dude's like, yo, everything okay, sheriff? And he's like, yeah, I just gotta go check on something up at the prison. And then they end up catching back up with KFC, man, and slicing him down. She turned into Xena Warrior Princess, or, you know, that show Vikings. And then they're looking all around for him, and they find him too, but shoots one of them down. But then Shaniqua takes out the second in command's hand, feel me? And then it's the big showdown between the warden and Snow Bunny. She's like, yo, I ain't no punk. But then she backhanders like, pow, then grabs that whip, and she's like, yo, I'm gonna show you what Indiana Jones looked like if he was a bitch. And then she starts smacking him up and stuff. It's like nuts out there. And crazy little CEO ends up trying to kill Shaniqua, but he gets shot by bruh, man. He's like, yo, oh, I got hit. Like, is there anything we could do? And he's like, all I ever wanted was some of that neck. And she's like, girl, don't judge me, but I gotta handle this. And she really shows him what that mouth does. He's like, oh, yeah, dead. And pretty much that's the end of him. And then they didn't forget about the sheriff. They pull him out and they're like, guess what? You're dead. Stab, jab. And then pretty much we cut to the old warden in the infirmary with the new warden, who happens to be Snow Bunny. And they give her a little food to the face. Moral of the story, don't do whores. Sup.